Tuzigoot National Monument is located at 25 West Tuzigoot Road, Clarkdale, Arizona, 86324. The trail is 1¼ mile with an elevation gain of 81 feet that takes roughly a half hour to complete depending on the pace you want to take. Human activity in the Verde Valley dates back 10,000 years, from the evidence of Clovis points found in the area. Paleolithic hunter-gatherers traveled through a greener, woodier Verde Valley, filled with pinyon pine, shrub oak, and juniper. Clovis points are found all across North America and parts of South America, indicating that these ancient people traveled widely across the continents, probably following game animals, the growth of edible plants, and other resources. The Sinagua settled the Verde Valley around the year 650, living in pit houses similar to the ones scattered throughout the Sonoran Desert. Construction of multi-room pueblos began in the year 1000. The pueblo at Tuzigoot is architecturally similar to pueblos in Colorado, New Mexico, and throughout Arizona. The trade route stretched from the arid Colorado Plateau to the jungles of Central America and the Pacific coast. Established networks of roads and trails linked communities across the landscape, and many people built their homes along the waterways and at the tops of hills. During the excavation of Tuzigoot Pueblo, trade items and materials from hundreds of miles away were found. Distinctive regional pottery from many different communities across the Southwest was found here, as were seashells, exotic minerals and paints, obsidian from distant volcanoes, and feathers from macaws, which are found from southern Mexico into the Amazon basin of South America. People from here exported minerals, including azurite, malachite, and copper, as well as salt, cotton, and textiles. After the Sinagua abandoned Tuzigoot in the 1300s, the pueblo stood above the river for centuries, slowly weathering under the sun and infrequent rains. By the early 1900s most of the walls had collapsed. The first documentation of pueblos in the European American record dates back to 1855. Antoine Leroux, a well-known mountain man and trail guide, passed through the Verde Valley in 1854, and reported this the following year. The river banks were covered with ruins of stone houses and regular fortifications, which had not been occupied for centuries. They were built upon the most fertile tracts of the valley, where were signs of acequias and of cultivation. The walls were solid masonry, of rectangular form, some 20 or 30 paces in length, and yet remaining 10 or 15 feet in height. Several years later in the 1880s, Cosmos Mindlef was hired to work for the Smithsonian Institution and survey the pueblos of the Southwest. His report is one of the earliest comprehensive reports on Sinagua sites in the region. In 1895, the American archaeologist and writer Jesse Fuchs visited the Verde Valley, and submitted another extensive report on its archaeological sites to the Smithsonian Institution. The archaeological excavation at Tuzigoot was done between 1933 to 1935. It was led by Lewis Cawood and Edward Spicer, who were both graduate students at the University of Arizona at the time. The name Tuzigoot was given to this site during the excavation. Tuzigoot is a corruption of the Tonto Apache name Tu-Digais, which is the name for this stretch of the Verde River and is usually translated to crooked water. Today, many of the artifacts uncovered by Cawood and Spicer are on display in the Tuzigoot Museum collection. Built in 1936, the museum was designed specifically to echo the construction techniques used in the Tuzigoot Pueblo. All but a handful of the artifacts on display in the museum were found here on site. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt designated Tuzigoot ruins as a U.S. national monument on July 25, 1939. The Tuzigoot National Monument Archaeological District was listed on the National Register of Historic Places on October 15, 1966.
you.